Hi everyone, my name is Skipper and it's my pleasure to be bringing you the next part in Alliance Redwoods Camp at Home video series. Now, what exactly is the water cycle? Well, like many things in nature, water has a cycle that it goes through as it changes states and it moves throughout its environment. So if you look on page 24 in your journal, you should have a diagram that looks something like this. A bunch of blank spots for things. What I would like you to do is, in a moment, I'm going to have you pause the video and take a moment to try to fill out the blanks in this diagram using your own prior knowledge. And then when you come back, we're going to go over what those answers should be together. All right? Pause the video. All right, if you're back with me, that should mean that you've filled out your diagram. Don't worry if your answers don't match mine. We're going to go over them together here now. So, what we've got is our water cycle. Where does the water cycle start? That's an excellent question. It's kind of difficult to quantify because the water cycle is a cycle. However, one of the best ways to start talking about it is to talk about evaporation. Evaporation is the process of water turning into water vapor from large bodies of water. So the sun heats the water, it turns into water vapor, and it rises from those bodies of water like lakes and oceans. When it rises into the air, water goes through a process called condensation, turning into clouds. Clouds are the collection of water vapor in the air, and when they collect and get heavy enough, water begins to fall from those clouds in a process called precipitation. That can be snow, rain, hail. Precipitation is just the process of water falling from clouds. And when it returns to the ground, it runs downhill and runs off into streams and rivers and eventually back into those large bodies of water like lakes and oceans. Now, there are two other spots on this diagram that we didn't really talk about, and that's because they work in tandem with the water cycle. Transpiration is the process of water vapor being released from trees, like our big coastal redwoods up above me here, and back into our environment. That water vapor collects and condensation and precipitates back to the ground. And then also, sometimes water doesn't quite make it back into rivers and streams as it runs off. It seeps into the ground and it's stored there as groundwater, and that's a process that we call collection. So what I have next for you is an activity of sorts. If you check the video description, you will find a link to the resources that we use for this class, and in there you will find Journey of a Water Droplet cards. If you look at these, you'll notice that in the very middle there is a big name of the location of the water droplet, and around the outside edges you will see a bunch of other little smaller names and some instructions with those. So what you're going to do is you're going to print these out, you're going to scatter them around, and you're going to pick up one, choose a starting spot, and hold it with your thumb in one of the little pie slices here. And then to figure out where you're going next, you're going to take this, you're going to toss it and spin it, and you're going to catch it again. And wherever your thumb lands, that's where you're going to go next. So I would be heading over to the soil card next. As you're moving around, you're going to want to note where you go in that little diagram below the water cycle chart on page 24. After about 20 to 30 times of doing this, you can start to get an accurate picture of where you're going to be gathering as a water droplet and where you're going to be moving around. And maybe you can start to make some inferences about why your water droplet moves the way that it does. So what I've done here is I've done the water droplet journey activity 25 times. And what that allows me to do is figure out a percentage by multiplying each of my number of visits by 4. So my cloud I visited 3 times. If I multiply 3 by 4, I get 12, which is 12%. So 12% of my total. Using 25 makes this easy because 25 is a quarter of 100%, and so you just have to multiply by 4 to find your percentiles for each of your locations. That's all I've got time for today. My name is Skipper. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.